What's up, guys? Today is a part 3 of our tower defense game. Last time we made this installing system and this gun selector, and we do have to add a base in there so it looks a lot better. And today we're probably gonna do the turret's aim and shooting, probably the making the base to show. So let's get right into it. And guys, what we're gonna start off with is this find target code. Now, this is obviously going to be one of the most complicated part of this series, and this thing is literally going to be the same thing as we used in the Battle Royale series. And if you haven't checked it out, there's going to be a link in the description below. And also, there's an I button up here, which is a lot faster. Now, what we're going to do is to create some variables. And the first one is actually going to be distance to our target. And that's going to be it. And remember to do for this sprite only, and that is really, really important. And we're going to have target direction for this sprite only. That's good for now. Or maybe let's create one more, name it I1 for this sprite only. And let's go ahead and set our distance to target to an underscore. Now, if you haven't watched the Battle Royale series, you probably won't know why we're setting it to an underscore. It's because an underscore is bigger than any number value on Scratch. And if you want to know why it has to be the biggest value, is you can watch on or go to the Battle Royale series, which actually kind of explains better than this. Now let's go to lists, get a length of enemy X. And we're going to change I1 by 1. And we're going to go to control, get an if statement, and if not equals an underscore, if item enemy X and I1, if not underscore, which will probably mean that it's dead, but if you don't want to do that, I don't think you really have to do that. It's just blocking the ones that are dead to be not checked. But if it's an underscore, it should be a lot bigger than the others, but yeah, I'll take it. I'll leave it like that, and I'll go to my blocks, create a block. We're gonna get a distance to X, and X, Y, and Y. And you're gonna have to remember to check that run without screen refresh button. And we'll drag that somewhere over here. And we'll kill that later. We'll get the distance to target. We'll get item I1 of enemy X and item I1 of enemy Y. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna code a little bit more under. We're gonna get an if else statement, and we're gonna go to operators, get this. We're gonna go ahead, get a distance to target is less than plus 1 of item turret info and item turret type of clone ID. So item, clone ID of turret type of turret info. Now, if you want to know what that is, let's say when I clone it, I set it my type as 1, which will eventually be set it as my costume name that has type of 1. And then when I am created and I was to find the target, last time we input some things into turret info that type 1 has a range of 100 and type 2 has a range of 150. So item clone ID of turret type will basically mean which type am I, and item clone ID of turret type of turret info will determine its range. Now what you're gonna have to do is, last time we created this variable can shoot, and we're gonna do set can shoot to item clone ID of turret type. Now what we're gonna do is go to control, get an if else statement, and in this else, the very bottom else, we're gonna set can shoot to 0. Now in this if else statement, we're gonna do operators greater than if my x is smaller than item enemy x, and we're actually gonna have to need another variable, and we're gonna name this I2 for this sprite only, and we're gonna change this to I2. Now what you're gonna have to do is go to my blocks and make a block. You're gonna do point towards x, and you're gonna have x, y, y, and from, which doesn't really mean from, we're gonna name it value. Run without screen refresh. Now you're gonna drag that under here too, and then you're going to point towards, and another point towards, item I2 of enemy X, and item I2 of enemy Y, and item I2 of enemy X, and item I2 of enemy Y. Now, those were really just the same, but this has to be 90 and negative 90. So, now we're going to do distance to first, which kind of uses that triangle algorithm or whatever. It's not called triangle algorithm, but somewhat of a there is some use of triangle. Now we're going to go to control, get an if statement, and we're going to do less than. If a value is less than our original distance to target, which probably is because our offsetted value is underscore, we're going to get this abs block, and we're going to change it to square root. You're going to put it there. Now you're basically going to get a plus and a multiply thingy. It's not multiply, but it's a multiply. Forget what that means. You're going to get an x and an x and an x and another x. You're going to drag it into our first one. You're going to change this to y's, kind of like that. And you're going to drag this in, but to remember to change this to y. So that's good. Now we are going to set our distance to target to this value. So you can just duplicate that. And we're going to set our I2 to I1. And I think we should set our I2 to 0 at the beginning. So that's pretty nice. And I'll switch to orders. Now is this point towards, which is actually a little bit switched from our original one. And the thing is, I've just figured that we don't really need this target direction. And yeah, so we don't need it. Let's go to motion, get a point in direction. Minus, it's from our value. And it's really the same, but just a little bit different. We're gonna get an A10 of, we're gonna get a division operator, and we're gonna get a subtraction operator. We're gonna do y and another y. You're gonna duplicate that, put it here, change those to just x values. And that is how it works. And now it should start to work. And let's wait until it gets in the range. And if you see, you see the tower actually aiming at the closest one, which is what we want. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it so it could shoot. Now what we're gonna do is go to control. When I start as a clone, we're gonna do forever. We're gonna do if not equals our clone ID is -10, then we're gonna make a block. We're gonna name it shoot. And don't check that run without screen refresh because it'll extremely lag your game out. And what we're gonna do, what I'm gonna explain is that you should not put this in here thinking that that should make it shorter, not making this entire code. But guess what? That's not the right thing to do. Now, what I'm actually going to do is wait until not mouse down and wait until it's mouse down again. Because if not, they're going to aim and shoot when they're being moved, which isn't what we want. Now with the shoot, reason why I said to do no run without screen refresh and that you shouldn't put it there is because we need wait few seconds, which will lag your game extremely out when you use run without screen refresh or put it with a different code that has to be run every frame. Now we're going to go our operators. We're going to get a less than if our can shoot is greater than 0. So if 0 is less than can shoot, basically what that is, it's if can shoot is greater than 0, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get an if else statement. Or you know what? I think we can replace this with an if statement. We're gonna do if else if equals if equals 1. So if can shoot is 1, then what we're gonna do is and also reason why I'm not doing it in kind of more efficient way, I don't really know if there is reason why I'm checking one by one is because we only actually got 5 to check. And I'm gonna duplicate that, put it in the else, change this to 2, and I'm gonna leave that else blank because we don't have anything else for now. And let's go to looks. Let's get a switch costume to, let's go to operators, get an addition operator. Let's do +10 from our costume number. There you go. You know what? Let's do 5. Kind of confusing because, yeah. And then let's go to control. Let's give it a short value of 0.07 or something like that. And let's put it there. Let's go ahead and switch our costume to our current costume plus -5. Or what you could do also is a -5. But it's actually, it takes time to take that block out. So you can just do that. And what we're going to do is wait 0.4 seconds. And obviously it doesn't have to be that value. And this value is the delay of your first machine gun, like a tower. And we're going to duplicate that. We're going to do literally the same thing. But you're going to make this last delay to 1.2. So that's great. Or what we could do is actually more efficient way. Let's go turret info. Let's go to the 6th one, which will actually now represent this delay of our first gun. Now it's going to be 0.4. And our second gun is going to have a rate of 1.2. Now what we're going to do is to actually switch this code a little bit. We're going to get this. We're going to get, we're going to throw everything out. And we're going to do item can shoot +5 of turret info. So now kind of just made that up in the right away. But it's pretty nice. It's gonna work. And let's go to here. Like, let's replace item I2 of enemy health with minus item I2 of enemy health, and let's go ahead and put that here. And the reason why I left that blank is it just kind of messed up by using this method. We actually have to do more stuff in this turret info list. And our fifth one is gone. I mean, our seventh. It has to be 1.2. There it is. Now we have to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more items. And in our 11th, which now will represent the damage. For our first machine gun, it's going to be 1, and for our second, it's going to be 3. And that is why it has more delay. And let's get item, turret info, and can shoot plus 10. So it kind of works like that. It's pretty simple, like that. Now if we run, it should start to shoot. Let's put it here. 1, 1, 1, 2. So now that is working. It's just that they're not dying because there's no dying code in here. And what we're gonna do is actually to design it here. Now let's go to control, get an if statement, operators less than, if less than 1, item, clone ID of enemy health. We're going to replace item enemy health, enemy X, enemy Y, clone ID with an underscore. And that is why we actually did the code like before. Let's get a delete this clone. Now that's pretty nice. It should start dying now. Let's get that and put it in the range. And if you see, they are successfully dying. And now, I don't know if you saw it, we got our flash animation, but it was actually under the ground. So what is happening is when we have it, if we like do that, it's under the ground. Because we commanded to go to the back layer when they're installed. And we don't want that to happen. Let's get a forever when green flag is clicked, go to the back layer in our path. And reason why we can install our turret on the path is because we haven't coded, so we can't. So in probably the next episode, we will go ahead and do that. But before we do end this episode, I'm going to show you guys how to do our bases. So I think I should be back with my amazing bases. So yeah. And before I go fast play, remember to name yours 1, 2, 3 and matching the each types. So here's my first base, some rounded edges and some squares. Now if I were to copy this, go to turret, this costume, paste it, made it so it'd go back, it would look something like, and before I do, I think I should center this first. It's kind of like that, and let me center that. Now that actually looks good, so let's delete it, and let's see. Yeah, this isn't centered too, so I should center it and get this right too. So you guys have to check if yours is centered because it's really important to be centered in the middle, or it'll kind of look wonky and everything. Yeah, this isn't centered too, so let's center that somewhere around there. Because it'll be turning based on here, not here, which is supposed to be the base. So let's go ahead and center that. So approximately there. Now let's go to our base and let me just duplicate that and design my second one. So here's my second one, which also looks pretty nice. So let me copy that. Go to turret, place it here. Now that's kind of like how it looks like. It kind of looks like a leaf blower tower, but I'll stick with it because it's hard to design a better one. Now let's go to events. Let's get when green flag is clicked. Let's go ahead and set our size to a proper size. In my case, it's 75% because in turret, when green flag is clicked, we set it to 75%. Now what we're going to have to do is go ahead and hide. Now we're going to go to variables, make a variable, underscore clone ID. And remember to check the for this sprite only. And we're going to set our clone ID to -10 again. And we're going to have X for this sprite only. And I don't think we're going to need Y, so let's just not create Y. Let's set our X to -200. And let's go to Y of -200 and to our X. And we're going to go ahead and switch our costume to 1. And we are going to create clone of myself. Now what I'm going to do is set my X to -125. And I'm going to go to the X, Y of -200, switch to costume 2, and create clone of myself. Then I'm going to set my clone ID to 0. And also the method I just thought of is a repeat loop using my blocks. So let's go ahead and name it clone, and remember to check run without screen refresh because that's the whole thing about it. And let's go ahead and set our X to -200, or actually should I say -275. Now I'm going to do clone here, and I'm going to go to and I'm going to put a repeat loop here. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to put this here. Now I'm going to repeat that 2 times because I need to create 2 clones. Now what I'm going to do is to switch costume to a 0 costume. And I'm going to switch costume to 0. Going to do next costume. And I'm going to set my X value to let's go to operators, get a subtraction, and we can throw that out. We're gonna do X minus 75, or because we have to go right, we'll do plus 75. Now that's good, and I think it should work. Now if we go, yeah, it's not like they're not showing when they're cloned. So let's go ahead and design that code first. I'm gonna move this here because we need space. Let's go to control, get a when you start as a clone. We'll go and get an if else statement. It's basically gonna work the same as the turret. If my clone ID equals -10, then what we're gonna do is go ahead and hide. And we're going to go to the front layer, and we're going to wait 0.001 seconds, or to be easier, just wait 0 seconds. Now, I think I said it, but if you don't know, the point of waiting 0 seconds is it does give delays because there are times that computers have to read the code. And even though it is like run without screen refresh, it still isn't a 0 second run because that's impossible. So let's go ahead and wait 0 seconds, and let's go ahead and wait until it equals open. So basically, as I said, it's going to be the exact same. Not exact same, but really just exact same. Let's wait 0.07 seconds. So 0.07. Or what I think you could do is really to just drag this in. Now we have that. So let's get this, and we're gonna make that 0.07, or let's stick with 9. And we're going to take this out, go to front layer, and we are going to do show, and let's do this. Let's wait until it equals close. Let's go to front layer, glide 0.027 seconds, and then go ahead and hide. Now if we see how that works, it kind of works like that. Now if you see, we do have it colliding with our base. But when we try to install it, they are not there. So what we're going to have to do is to design this else code, but before we do, we're not going to clone it in the base. If you see, we're cloning in our trit. So now that we know where it's cloning from, and it can be cloned, we don't have to create a bunch of codes that clones it whenever I buy a trit. So let's go ahead and show. And let's set my clone ID to length of trit type. And I'm going to go to looks, get a switch costume to item, trit type, and clone ID of trit type. And I'm actually going to do +1 because that's how Scratch reads it. And we're going to go to control, get a wait until, not mouse down, and we're going to go forward 2 layers, and we're going to repeat until it's mouse down again. And I'm actually going to add comment saying add and for the detection to remind me doing the next episode, because probably the next episode we will learn our collisions so we can't place our turret on the road. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to motion, gotta go to mouse pointer, and we're going to set our X to my X position. Like you don't really have to because there's nothing to do it with it. We're gonna wait 0 seconds, and we're going to go to back layer. Now 0 second is an offset value so that turret is not behind the base when cloned. Now if you go, you see the base are properly there. And reason why I made the base and the thing separate is because these square-based type of turrets, now when they have to turn their heads to aim at them, their base shouldn't be turning or it'll look horrible. So yeah, there it is. The episode was actually a little bit too long because yeah, so I think we have to end it quick. So subscribe, hit like, check the link in the description below to check out my studio, my projects, my tutorials, and peace.